Louis van Gaal conceded afterwards he thinks it's going to be very difficult to make the top four. The Champions League, which you know only too well, is a hugely important part of a United season. So the Europa League then becomes a massive focus for them.
It's not that far, Ben, is it? It's not that far out of it.
6 points, and obviously the teams above have got a game in hand because they all play this afternoon, so it could be higher by the end of Super Sunday this afternoon. Was sort of Champions League for you, David, was that always a clear indicator when you were there that that was an absolutely imperative finish for you?
Yeah, for me, I knew that, you know, Manchester United need to qualify for the Champions League. And I knew that certainly if it wasn't in my first season, I would have to do it by my second season. So I think it is. I think Manchester United need to be there. They're a club of status. We want to be at that level, if not more. They want to be winning it if they can, never mind qualifying for it. So I think that... you know, that's what happens at Manchester United. It's that level.
If you had your chance over again, would you do anything different?
No, I wouldn't. The only thing I'd do different is I think if I knew I was only going to have 10 months and not 6 years, I might have gone into it. You know, I might not have been taking my time a little bit because there was never any rush to do anything. I had 6 years to do the job. It was going to take a little bit of time to change things round. There's a bit of rebuilding done. I was really fortunate that I took over the champions from Sir Alex, so it was great. But I think that team had probably had its journey and was going to need change. And if you actually look at the amount of players who've left from then till now, there's a big change in players. So there was a change to take place. But you know, when you're given 6 years, you expect to be given that time, not
I
10
spoke
months.
to you at Sunderland, Newcastle, and you said to me then that big changes need to be made with the playing staff.
Yeah, and it's proved to be the case. You know, there was some players who were a bit older who were going to have to change around. There was some players who had been there a long time, hadn't been getting regular games and were wanting to play more football, so they were going to have to be moved around. And you've got to remember as well, you know, there was also a different chief exec in place. You know, David Gill had left, which was a real big thing for Manchester United. He was someone who was really important to the club and to how things ticked along at the club.
After 26 games, which is where we are now, United had 41 points and has scored 33 goals. In your season, after 26, you had 42 points. You've scored 41 goals. David McIntosh says, do you feel sort of unfairly treated when you look at the situation for Louis van Gaal and the support that he's had?
No, I think when you're a manager, you know, I know the reason I lose my job at Manchester United is because I don't win enough games. So that's simple as that. But I feel unfairly treated that you don't get the time to do the job. And I felt that, you know, I had worked 11 years in the Premier League with Everton. I had worked my way up. I had you know, given myself every opportunity. And I had been given an opportunity I'd been approached by several top clubs when I was at Everton. But it was really only Manchester United which turned my head. It was the only club I think I'd have left Everton for. And I just felt that, you know, for any manager, and as you showed in your earlier on, you know, it does take a little bit of time. And if you're going to keep chopping and changing your managers, you know, I don't think it's going to work. But Manchester United were the one club who tended to always do things right, used to always do it in the right way, always stood by their managers. So for me, it looked a really good fit.
Was the fact that you weren't in any rush because you felt like you had six years one of the reasons why you didn't spend as much money, because you didn't spend anywhere near as much money as Louis van Gaal has spent, or was it because you weren't given the money to spend, David?
Well, you've got to remember, I actually got told I was getting the job just at the end of April, just before the end of the season, but I couldn't take the job until the 1st of July. So there was a period of time which went there which shouldn't have been allowed. You know, I should have gone into the job immediately, you know. And I felt if that had happened... then
Why the delay?
I've no idea. It was Manchester United's decision, you know, that it would be done on the 1st of July, which didn't please Everton or Bill Kenwright or MD, because that was the way it was. So it meant that we had a very short period in the transfer window to sort of get things at that time. And then we had January as well. But let me tell you, you know, Manchester United are always in for the top players. We were in for the top players at the time. We didn't get them. Manchester United were in for the top players recently and have bought a lot of top players, and they'll be in for them again this year. And
do you think that ends up being that the chief exec changed and he was finding his feet as well, and he's had a bit more longer time to sort of make sure that those deals get done now, whereas when he'd come in with you, maybe it wasn't quite so, the experience wasn't there?
I think you need to understand football totally to know, and I think David Gill was someone who understands, you know, everything, and You know, I think him and Sir Alex Ferguson is such a good relationship together. It really helped that club work in their way. Didn't please everybody, maybe, but it really worked those two together.
Louis van Gaal's also received a lot of criticism about the style of United's play this year. When you were the United manager, were you aware that there was this expectation that United were going to play a certain way? Was that something that concerned you?
Yeah, and we tried to do it.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't. I didn't go in there and say we're going to change the style of play. People use these words and come up with thoughts that maybe this isn't there. No, every opportunity we'd have. There wasn't much in my time. I didn't change an awful lot from Sir Alex's time. We had the same players as we've just talked about. We tried to play the same attacking football, but there was a need of a change of some of the personnel, and it was going to take time. And obviously, they had just lost a great manager who had retired, and there was some players who were coming nearer the end of their careers, and they were great players, great football players, great players. So it was just going to take a period of time, and unfortunately, you know, you lose your job if you don't win enough games. But that season as well, if you look at it, you know, Chelsea, Josie had come back to Chelsea. You know, Manchester City were a really good team that year, and also Liverpool had Suarez, who was probably the best player. So at that time, that season was probably as tough. Those teams all had really good teams at the time, and you know, we found it tough to compete.
You're great friends with Sir Alex. Did you ever ring him up and have a chat about
regular?
Regular?
No, we'd certainly at every game we would talk after every game. Alex had a box next to the box the Manchester United manager would have. I met him privately 2 or 3 times. You know, we would speak on the phone. But he done the right thing. He kept his distance. He didn't want to come and make it look as if he was getting involved, because if he was there all the time, people would say, well, no, he's too busy. So I think from Sir Alex's point of view, he couldn't win, really. You know, it was very hard, you know, whatever he'd done. But I've got to say, he was really supportive of me in the time, helped me when I was there, as did David Gill. They were really good. Yeah. And just unfortunate, you know, it wasn't a bit longer.
If you could go back, Cam, you said you wouldn't change anything, but if you could offer yourself one piece of advice that you now know in hindsight that you didn't know then, what would you advise the David Moyes that had taken the United job?
Well, I just think that the having to go in and now, I think Manchester United there's so much media attention on Manchester United. There's so much media attention on Louis van Gaal just now as well. You know, when I lost my job, he was lauded by everybody in football. You know, probably you people, all the media, everybody else. Now, many of you now are the ones who are saying that he should lose his job. So, you know, this is the way, and I think if you go to Manchester United, that's what you get. You get an awful lot of media attention. But I still believe, you know, I was the right person to take the job. I was the type of fit Manchester United would tend to go for. So, you know, I've got no hard feelings about it. Disappointed about the way I lost my job, but no, I was privileged and I was very honoured to get the chance to manage Manchester United.
John Campbell's tweeted in saying, a real shame that David Moyes didn't get more time. He's a top man. Wish him all the best for the future. So there's a lot of good spirit from United fans.